Welcome to Skin Deep Radio here on Sirius XM Channel 141 HUR Voices. I'm your guest host, Dr. Marcea Whitaker, your life and business coach, sitting in for the one and the only Sharon Morton. Today, we are shining a light on legacy, leadership, and influence off the field. And I have the pleasure of bringing to the spotlight Tenisha Patterson Brown, president of the Off the Field NFL Wives Association, an accomplished attorney, business strategist, and visionary, a leader who is helping to redefine what power looks like beyond the sidelines of professional sports. And we are leading up to the pink carpet event, the 25th annual charity fashion show, coming to Super Bowl Media Week in San Francisco. And as we always say here on Skin Deep, we are doing more than just scratching the surface. We are going deeper into the stories, the strategy, and the purpose behind the people shaping culture and community. Today, we are talking about honoring the most powerful women in sports, celebrating a 25-year legacy of sisterhood and service, and exploring how women connected to the NFL are building influence, protecting their families, and creating lasting impact. So stay connected with us by emailing skindeepradioshow@gmail.com and stay tuned. We'll be right back with information you simply cannot afford to miss right here on Skin Deep. And welcome back to Skin Deep here on Sirius XM. As I mentioned before the break, I am joined by Tenisha Patterson Brown, president of the Off the Field NFL Wives Association. Tenisha brings over 15 years of experience as an attorney and business strategist, having negotiated million-dollar deals, securing NFL licensing agreements, and led national nonprofit initiatives, generating over $1 million in impact. She's also the founder and chief legal strategist of Definitive Sports Group, where she advises elite athletes and organizations on high-stake business decisions and long-term legacy planning. Tenisha, welcome to Skin Deep.
Thank you so much. And I'm so happy to be here today and excited to talk about all things off the field and just really pro athlete wives.
Yes, I love that. And we had talked earlier, we talked about mom duty, and I know you were in the midst of some of that, and I feel it.
And
Right. But
Listen, mom life is a real thing. So, yes. So, excuse me for being in the car, but I'm headed to this car line. And
no, you're
so,
good. Look, this is your mobile office, and I'm sure we have all
absolutely.
as we talk, and for those that are listening, there's going to be some men, but there's going to be a lot of women and a lot of moms who can resonate with what it is that you're doing. And right now, they're in the car right now because they're listening to us on the radio. Okay, so so we are good. Now, I wanted to just to share that none of this conversation even happens if you're not an NFL wife. Okay,
Hmm.
right? So
Absolutely.
your husband Everett Brown, he's a former NFL linebacker and defensive end. And I found out he was your first client. He was drafted to the Carolina Panthers way back when. And I also found out that he was both a cowboy and a Redskin. So you're gonna have to clean and clear that up. I grew up in Redskin territory, but I
Hmm.
wanted to kind of give you some space just to kind of shout out your husband and kind of the journey that you all have had.
Honestly, I started dating my husband in college and with no intention, full disclosure, to being an athlete's wife, athlete's girlfriend. I was just like, no, I'm good. I was working with recruits and really was super passionate about being a woman in sports and really being taken serious. And I just really didn't want anyone to confuse my role. Um, in sports to with my desire to be with my husband or my boyfriend at the time. And so honestly, when my husband was getting drafted, he said to me, I was like, "Hey, you should let me represent you." And he's like, "Hey, you should get some credentials." And I was like, "Wait a minute." And I was taken aback by it, but honestly, that that little nudge that he gave me really pushed me to make myself like, how was I going to be different, right? What
Mhm.
was going to be the niche that I could tap into? What could I provide to athletes that wasn't already out there, right? The same storyline that is told all the time about agents and financial advisors and marketing people. What was making me different? And so I went to law school, really because of that. And so I always give him that credit, and I tell that story, and he thinks it's funny because he's like, I don't remember saying that, but I'm like, you did. You were being petty, but you said it, and but no, my husband has been a tremendous support system, definitely speaking on my behalf, to his fellow teammates, and being super supportive, not feeling any type of intimidation or um, competition when it came to my work, being very respectful of my work as well, as I work very closely with his friends and his teammates. So I'm grateful for my husband, and just really his role that he's played in the creation and the sustainability of defending sports.
I love that. And we're going to touch something that you speak about. I'm going to touch on that a little bit later, but I want everyone who's listening to kind of put a pin right here. But I know the big thing that's happening is that there's the 25th annual charity fashion show. It's the pink carpet happening Friday, February 6th, in San Francisco at the Coco Republic. Looking forward to getting in that room. But I want to know, why is reaching this 25-year milestone so significant for your organization and the women and the communities that you serve?
So it is an opportunity really to highlight the legacy that our founders, as they created this organization with the intent of creating a community that serves all of NFL families, and acknowledging that work that they put in for the last 25 years, but also looking to the future, elevating what we have going on, but being so inspired by all the things that we are working towards. I always say that I would, as long as the NFL is around, off the field is going to be around. And
Mhm.
so for me, it is going to be an opportunity for us to showcase how much history, how much work, because I think a lot of times we're lost in the messaging, right? A lot of times we're overshadowed by the sexy, right? Things, the spicy things that you see, and you often miss the work and just the humanity of who we are as NFL families. And so
Mhm.
this 25th annual show is going to be an opportunity to see us in our full glory. Allow the men, as one of our founders, Ashley, always says, it's a honeydew checklist for the guys to come
Yes.
and support their wives. But it really to show how we are multifaceted and dynamic that we are as women.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that. And so let's rewind to August 2023, and that is when you came on board as president.
Mhm.
Ahead of this anniversary, what was the original vision for this celebration, and maybe how has it evolved over the planning stage?
Well, I actually joined the board as just really a board member, learning and coming in as kind of like a legal advisor in 2023. I officially became president, actually, shockingly, became president. Um, in October of 2024. And in that, and really stepping into that role, I will be fully transparent. I thought I was, before I could take it, I was in imposter syndrome, right? I didn't realize that. I'm like, why would I be president, right? Like, what could I, above other people, what am I bringing to the table? And then honestly, it was a very inspiring thing to see how supportive my board was. Um, my fellow board members, and really elevating me into this position and saying, Tanisha, like, we think you absolutely are the right person for this. honestly, I immediately said, okay, let me step into this role and make my founders proud. Erica Lassiter, who was the president before me, and Cynthia Zordich as well, laid such a tremendous foundation for off the field. And I really wanted to live up to what they had put in place. And really take that and go beyond. And so for me, it was about programming and standing on three pillars, which is sisterhood, service, and support. Anything outside of that and didn't align in a positive way, we were getting rid of, right? And
Mhm.
so all of the things that we do serve our sisterhood. They serve our the service element, our communities, our NFL communities that we pour into, and then they also provide that support. And so, if you look at our programming, that's what we're geared for, and that's really my mission. My narrative, and I go back to, is I really want to change what it means to be a pro athlete's wife. That how we
Mm.
define it, how people define it, and really take the positivity and just really show how many dimensions that we actually have.
Yeah. So what you just encouraged us is that you came on just to help, just to be part of the board, make, improve the organization. And then you got thrusted into this position and you were like, ho, 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 I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready. But then what you said is that you had the support around you to say, hey, you know what? You can really do this. And through that,
Mhm.
there's going to be some growth. And not only that, you're about to launch something that is going to be impactful. And I don't know all the details or the other things that you've done up until this point, but this is a legacy of encouraging others both on and off the field, and women who aren't NFL wives, but they are wives, or they're women, or they're doing something big in the community. So I want to thank you for just being transparent with that.
Thank you.
Yeah. And with that, you wear many hats, right? I've already mentioned you're an attorney, you're a business strategist, you're a nonprofit leader, you're the president of this organization, you're a mom, right? You're all the other things, maybe PTA, all the things. But I want to know, how does your role as an NFL wife, how has that shaped the leader that you have become?
Wow. I would say I can adapt. My husband used to say this all the time and it bothered me. Because he's like, I can easily adapt to anything. And I'm like, as a woman, I want a stability, right? I'm like, I don't want to bounce around all over the place. But honestly, when you are in the NFL, it is very, very rare that you are on one team for your entire career. That is very rare. I don't know the percentages, but it's very rare. And so throughout my journey as an NFL wife, I had to really learn how to um, adapt to a lot of different scenarios. My husband not being there because I did not move with him every time he moved, because we had businesses in our home base, which was Charlotte. Um, and then we had three dogs, and so it was a lot to try to do anything, and we didn't want to leave our dogs, and so that was a whole nother thing. But I really wanted to have my own identity and create my own lane as well, and that was important for me. I learned how to create things without him, but also to be creative and create things with him, to really have my career accommodate him,
Mhm.
because we understood, and all the wives understand, that this career is very short. Um, Very rarely do you have a scenario like the Tom Brady's, right? Or,
Right.
those players who play 20 years, right?
Mhm.
And so you have to understand that this is a very short window of time and a very short time period of their overall lives. And this is something that your husbands have worked for, some of them since they were 5, 6 years old. And so we as wives really learn the sacrifice. I am a caregiver, and I'm also understanding the voices of many different people and their traumas that they have as well. And so in my leadership style, when I as I serve as president, I take it in consideration. I consider my board as my team. I'm the coach, and I consider them as my team, and I coach them up through everything. And they sometimes they serve as quarterbacks, depending on their position and their committees that they lead. But the beauty of that is that all of them understand the system because their husbands play, because some of them are former collegiate athletes as
Mhm,
well.
mhm,
And so it allows me to take pretty much my entire skill set, my business strategies, my legal skills, right? Risk management skills, to really apply it to my role as president. And more so anything, being a caregiver, and having empathy, because that's so important, and understanding that people are coming from different areas in their lives and different seasons, and then allowing them grace as we are building and volunteering, because I have to remind people that that Out the Field is a nonprofit. We volunteer our time, and that they're doing this, and I want them to love it as they're doing it.
mhm, mhm. Beautiful. Now, you mentioned earlier about wanting to kind of redefine how NFL wives are seen and kind of go into the more positive kind of zone. But a lot of
Hmm.
people do see it as glamorous, right? They don't see the pressure. You even mentioned, you didn't travel, you didn't move when he moved. What is one misconception about NFL wives that you are personally committed to debunking?
Um, so I will say that we are human beings.
Mhm,
I think a lot of times, and it really starts even fundamentally with the players themselves, is that oftentimes people assume that we're just the people on the internet. Right now, with the rise of a lot of our wives being influencers, as well, that people see us on the internet, or they see our husbands on the field, or they see us on game day, and they assume that we don't deal with the same day-to-day things
mhm,
that everyone else does, right? We still have children that get sick, right? We still
mhm.
have, you know, parents. We're in the sandwich generation, right? Where
Right.
we're caring for our parents and caring for our kids and caring for our husbands. All of the things, we have our own issues that we have going on. Like myself, like I struggled with infertility. And so,
Mhm,
but people assume that we don't have those same things. And if we do, we have enough money, so those things shouldn't bother us, right? Oh, you have the money, you have the fame, those things shouldn't bother us. And so for me, I really want to humanize us. I really want to make sure that, yes, we have influence because we have a voice, we're on this platform, but we are also human beings that have feelings, and have the highs and lows of life. And we want people to just understand that we're just real people.
yeah, great words, and a great mission. So I want you to stay tuned. We'll be right back with information you simply cannot afford to miss right here on Skin Deep. And we're back here on Skin Deep on Sirius XM channel 141 HUR Voices. I am your guest host, Dr. Marcea Whitaker, and joining me is Tenisha Patterson Brown, president of Off the Field NFL Wives Association, an attorney, business strategist, and powerhouse leader who is redefining influence off the field. So, Tanisha, before we went to break, we were talking about legacy and leadership, and I want to pick it back up with the power that's in the athlete's hands. And so the question is about the off the field NFL wives, that as you are rewriting the narrative for women connected to the league, what does the power off the field actually look like in practice? What would you say that power is?
I would say our brand strategy and voicing, and how we are allowing our wives to, and I say wives of significant others because we are inclusive and we understand the league is young. So we want to make sure that we give space and opportunity for those who aren't necessarily married.
Mhm,
Um, but having a platform and a voice, and and solidarity, right? Having a community of support, that allows our members and NFL families to grow, to have a more holistic approach, and in development, right, and providing education and resources. We really elevate our members. Whatever they have going on, whatever they're doing, we want to make sure that they understand the power in just simply having a voice.
Mhm.
um, we also want our husbands and significant others to understand the power in their voice. A lot of times they underestimate how much people listen to them, how much influence they actually have. And so it is our job really to look for opportunities and resources and partners as well,
Mhm.
to open doors in spaces that they probably never thought about, right? If it's spaces in tech, spaces in the help in the transition, right, and figuring out what they want to do post career. And I think people often assume that it's just the players that have to figure that out. It's the wives as well
Mhm.
have to figure that out. But also, excuse me, a lot of our children are athletes as well. They're coming up and in the NIL era, right?
Mhm.
And we want to give them voices as well, and the confidence to be a different type of athlete, right? Because our husbands weren't in that era. And so we want to make sure that we are creating those spaces for our children as well. So if I look at off the field, we are a comprehensive community of just education resources, growth, development, and really shifting change, and creating change among so many different levels.
Mhm. So you mentioned voice, you mentioned brand,
Hmm.
and I know that um, I was listening to one of your recent, again, more recent interviews, and you emphasize using the NFL while it's available. You mentioned, a short time window,
Hmm.
and you have certainly leveraged the platform, from partnerships with the NFL, with Lululemon, with the National Association of Mental Illness, also known as NAMI, and other Fortune 500 brands. Why is that urgency so important? And why do maybe some families kind of wait too long to use what's available, what's in front of them?
Well, and I will say from my personal experience, we didn't engage. Even though my husband played, and you mentioned Cowboys or the Redskins, my husband also played for the Eagles. I
Oh,
said,
really?
I don't know, like, are they just picking you up at this point just to see what's popping at the other team? But and so, but I will say we didn't engage, and I regret that. I regret not using the resources that we had available during that time. I was so focused on like life after football, right? Planning for that and our businesses and all the things that I just missed it. And I didn't, partners and opportunities and even benefits, right? I didn't engage. And I wish that I had, and I know a lot of families do that. And especially if you are not married before the player retires, you don't have access to all those things. You can't engage in it. And so for us, it's important. Our community consists of active players, legends, wives, significant others, but also women who were members and then they got a divorce. We don't kick them out,
Mm. Oh, that's
you are
amazing. I
still a
love that.
member. We have widows, as well. We have a whole group that's our widows group, because we understand that you're in different phases, different seasons. There's multi
Mm.
different facets of life. And so because of that, we recognize the need of our community. And so we also want them to engage, because one thing we do know is that if we don't use our benefits, we lose our benefits. And
Yes.
so for us, it's about having partners that can engage with us. I'm sorry, I'm putting my car tag, but can engage with us um, on a level that we are able to provide different resources for them that helps with the transition, right? That helps, that things that they can get started with now, right? Um, as they're engaging, and so as they're still playing, right? And even a next chapter, because we have a lot of our members, they've done career, had jobs, or their players have done things outside of playing, and they're like, wait, well, is there something else that we can do? And is there another career I can tap into
Mm-hmm.
once they
Mm-hmm.
hit that second wind.
Right.
And so that is what we really want to do. It's not necessarily just about like the career transition and processes, but very, very much about building um, a whole family unit and be NFL family focused. So
Mm-hmm.
not just on the women, not just on the men, but the entire NFL
For a
family unit
family.
and whatever that looks like.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. So how does the organization help to shift how women perceive themselves from being adjacent to power to being recognized as power brokers in their own right?
One of the first thing is really tapping into understanding that your role as caregiver is not your sole role, and that role has taught you and giving you so many tools, right? So many things, valuable life lessons that applies in business, that applies in investing, that applies in just really used to elevating and self-promotion. um we learn so much, and we're we can easily adapt, right? And we're creatives and artists and all the things, and we create opportunities within off the field to elevate that. So one of the things, like for example, that we're doing is during our show we will have authors corner. That is our members submitting their books that they already written, right? And allowing people to be able to support them, because we understand that we have tons of authors. We have all these, multifaceted women, and we want
Mhm.
to make sure that we elevate them in that space as well. We have OTF Cares, which is a huge committee for us, and OTF Cares pours directly back into our membership. So that is providing financial assistance for members who are going through emergency situations. That is providing internships for our kids and also other collegiate students. Externships for the wives, so we connect directly with like the NFLPA, the trust, looking for internships as well, and our partners who have externships that they can offer to our members, because we understand that there may be talents that you have, and a lot of times it's not what you know, is who you know, right? And
All the
so
time.
we want to yes, and so we've had the luxury of being a part of some of these communities, and so whatever resources that we have, we want to make sure that we are affording those same resources to our membership.
Yeah, well, that's very important. Very, very great opportunities. And so, I mean, the fashion show is yet another opportunity. You mentioned about the authors section, and it's the combination of where fashion meets philanthropy and of course football. So, can you give us a sneak peek as to who is going to be taking the runway this year?
Um, so we, yes, and so I will share with you one of our staple models is a Toya Burleson, Nate Burleson's wife. She doesn't mind me sharing that she'll be there, but and we will be also supporting her event as well, her Ladies Playbook and Inside the Lines podcast that will be on that next day, on that Saturday. But she will definitely be hitting the runway. We have some surprises. I don't want to share too much,
Oh,
but our
you can't give me the tea. Come on.
listen, my board will kill me. We've been working really, really hard on having some surprises and really incorporating our membership as well in it. So I can share a Toya definitely for sure, um, as a definite who will be there.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to be on the pink carpet, so I'm going to be able to I'll be able to see it in real time, and I can't wait to be in the room. So I'm not going to press you anymore. I'm going to respect the boundaries for now, but and we're going to give people a chance to get in the room a little bit later. But I wanted to kind of transition back to your legal background, and I know you sit kind of at the intersection of law, business, and sports. And what are some of the, I guess, the biggest legal or financial blind spots that you see families facing while the athlete is still playing?
I would say, from a legal perspective, is NFL families, and more so with the athlete, because they always want to take care of everybody, right? They've made it, so they want everybody to make it too. But the biggest thing is not understanding the risks when it comes to and the how open you are, right? They miss the risk management. People always assume that you need a lawyer when somebody's suing you, or you need a lawyer being reactive. And I always say you need to be proactive with your risk management. And I tell my clients that all the time. It's going to cost you more money to fix this than to be proactive and make sure it doesn't happen, right? And so every athlete, I don't care how much money they have, I don't care if they were practice squad or a Hall of Famer. It is the consistent thing. Oh, I trust them. It's okay. We don't need to have a contract. But and then it always backfires because people look at athletes, especially NFL players, and they assume that they have millions and millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, right? And the reality is that that's not the case for a lot of them, and so they miss that boat tre- tremendously from the legal perspective of just laying the framework, creating foundation, even in marriage, right? What are the clear lines? Like, who gets who's in charge of what are we managing for the children? If we get businesses, with your cousin, right? How do we have operating agreements with that,
Right.
partnership agreements? And so, because people say, well, it's my family, they won't do this, that very rarely comes out in a positive light, because then money is involved, and then that's the whole other conversation. And so I would
Yes.
say risk management is huge, and them just not being aware of how much they're exposed to.
No, that's good. As you started doing the negotiations, for personally as well as for your clients, when did you realize that, you know what, you were good at this? You belong in the room. You can handle this.
I'm gonna tell you, that took a long time, and I'm gonna say this because I was always viewed, even though I was doing the work and I was fully capable of doing the work. I've always been an academic. I love learning, high class, all type of education, all those things, right? Top of my class. But it really was when the narrative became, oh, you're just X, right? You're just an NFL wife. Oh, you're married to a player. So then it was always a downplaying of my capability. Like, oh, I only got in here because my husband played, right?
Mhm.
And so that plays with your mind a little bit, right? And so for me, my confidence really came, I would say, about 7 years in of me practicing law. And so even though I was doing the work, right, and in full transparency, when I started to do these deals and I'm looking back on them a year later, and I'm like, man, I sat in a room with four large law firms that had, you know, um, tons of attorneys and paralegals and legal assistants. And I did all of this with Definitive Sports Group by myself, right? And so for me, I just really had to take a moment and meditate and just breathe and look at what I've done, and in order to continue that confidence, like operating in that and saying, sis, you did it
Mhm.
and you're
You did it.
okay. Like, you
Yeah.
didn't, and you survived. And so, and this, and I had a mantra when I was studying for the bar, I always said it to myself every day: I'm going to be a first time bar passer. That was important to me. And so now I take that same mantra and say that I don't need to constantly think and rethink and really talk myself out of things that I already know. I have to trust my preparation and trust that I know. Do I, seek guidance and mentorship? Absolutely. But even my mentors tell me, like, Tanisha, you got to settle in and trust that you are good, sis. Like, and
Yeah.
that's important.
Yeah, you came over into the life coach space, and what I heard you say was you have to look at the evidence that you already did it.
Hmm.
And then you have to now use your words to counteract the negative thoughts that are going to keep up, they're being generated from externally, and they're coming inside, and you're like, you know what, I got to get this out of here because I can do this. right? So
Mhm.
I love, love, love that. So I want us to look kind of forward. You know, we've got to year 25. I want you to forecast 25 more years. What's what is the vision for off the field for the next 25 years?
So first things first, we are finishing up our road to LA 2028, with the intent of activating in every single, NFL city, that 30 cities, with all of our programming consistently. So
Mhm,
not just ending in LA 2028 and that's it, but really creating that baseline for us to be the industry leader in girls and flag. That is where our passion is. It aligns very much with what we're doing. Definitely tapping into all the other sports and creating that bridge between the sports, because like I said, our children play in these other sports as well.
mhm,
But really spearheading girls and flag and developing that, and really taking care of the girls, because we understand that female athletes and the girl athletes, they need it's not the same, and understanding what their needs are and
mhm,
focusing on them. And so that's, I would say, excuse me, from a programming perspective, that is what I would like to do.
mhm,
Excuse me, I would love for, OTF Cares to develop into its own entity that is fully supporting and in alignment with the Player Care Foundation,
mhm,
um, as the arm for the significant others. And I would love for that to be the case, and to really be the leader in pro athlete wives and significant others communities, and
mhm.
groundbreaking, creating transitions, and just kind of like setting the standard across all sports.
No, that's good. So I want to wrap this up, and
Mhm.
I know there's probably 2 or 3 tickets left to the fashion show. But if there's those that want to get in the room, how do they get that ticket?
Well, they can visit our website at offthefieldnflwa.org. We are selling tickets to that event. I encourage people to purchase the VIP tickets because it's going to be super special, and you don't want to miss it. Our show is always the marquee event during Super Bowl. It is a time to be had. It is the who's who. It is the dress to the nines, right? And so this year we are not sparing any expense. We are taking care of our benefactors. And also, if there's an opportunity, if you can't make it, you can still make a donation. And the proceeds of our show go directly to the Boys and Girls Club of San Francisco and Oakland, and the Charlotte Maxwell Clinic that is located in Oakland, which is they provide holistic support for low income women that are going through cancer treatment. So we are
Mhm.
very excited about that. We'll have some surprises, like I said, supporting
Woohoo.
HBCUs as
All right,
well.
all right, all right, all
So
right.
we
Thank
are
you so
so
much.
excited.
No, that is good. I cannot wait to be in the room. Thank you so much for your time today and the candidness of your conversation, and just kind of giving us the outline of what's going to happen, not only with your organization, but what's going to happen on at the fashion show on the pink carpet. Thank you again.
Thank you.
All right. That is the end of our show today. I'm Dr. Marcia. I am your guest host, and I'm sitting in for the one and only Sharon Morton. You can reach out to us at skindeepradioshow@gmail.com, and we air Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, as well as on streaming platforms. Until next time, everything is about getting skin deep. Take care.